My time is more important to me than money. Here's why. We are at a stage in our life where I'm 20, turning 21 this year, and I'm at a stage where I'm trading time for skills. And I'm trading time for things that will compound over time. And that compounding will be advantageous to me, will be to my advantage. And the skills that we're learning, we're going to stack on top of one another and create this big conglomerate thing. Now, here's where this becomes relevant, even to your lives, which is we come at these crossroads sometimes where we can choose to spend time or money, and the instinct is to spend time. So, for example, right now, the reason why I'm not in my usual garbs, in my usual sales consultation garbs, is because I'm on my way to somewhere, to pick something up, something that has to be done. The cars are away, parents are away, business this side, that side, cool. And I'm at a point where I could, for affordability's sake, take public transportation and get there when I get there, or leave early, not do this, not do anything else that is going to be beneficial for my skills, and not use my time in the way that I'd like to, basically. So I would sacrifice the time that I'm spending doing this and instead go for the cheaper option that is going to cost me time. Like, I could do that. Or I stay here, I do this, I do whatever else that I want to get done, or that I can get done between now and the time when it is going to be reasonable to be heading over there, the time when the store is open, stuff like that. And I would instead trade money. It would cost more. I could just Uber over there. And that mode of transportation is more convenient. It's going to cost less time. And do you get what I'm trying to say? But it's more cost ineffective. It's more expensive, right? And so more often than not, people will choose to spend the time. Like, for example, with cooking, people will choose to cook home cooked meals every single day, instead of enrolling in some sort of institution and just sacrificing for that little bit of time, or trying to find healthy alternatives for fast food, or trying to get things that they can cook quickly, or this and that, because we often tend to want to keep money and give away time. And for me, I fight this tendency by reminding myself that I'm not in the earning phase of my life. This phase of my life is about learning, not earning. And if we spend this time learning, then we are increasing our earning capacity. And so when it's time to earn, we can earn big. So it's in these moments when I actually stop and think to myself, wait, okay, so how much, I'm like, okay, let's actually play it out. How much money am I actually going to save, for example? Like, okay, maybe it's a couple hundred, maybe it's a couple thousand, whatever, depending on the scenario. And then I ask myself, is me not doing the thing, not learning the skill, not increasing my compounding, not remaining consistent, is that worth a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand? Or is that going to be, meaning, if I continue to do this, carry my momentum, say for 20 years in a row, is who I am going to be at the end of that, and what I will have built by the end of it, is that worth a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand? I'd hope the answer is no. And so this that I'm trading right here is like, it's a no-brainer. Like, when you think of it like that, when you think of it in terms of what you're actually doing, how you're actually showing up for yourself, and what it actually means in the grand scheme of things, then it becomes very obvious that you would much rather easily trade money. You'd spend any money, and that's why, again, for the people who haven't followed throughout the entire journey, that's why I really don't mind spending on books, on self education at that time. Now it's more formal education, but at that time, these cost me like maybe over $1,000 South African each, you know, and they were shipped, delivered. This one came from Amazon directly, flew through to New York, came through. This one I got from Takealot, so it was the same journey except in bulk. So I think that's what protected it a bit more. But ultimately, say that to say, that did cost me quite a bit of money. Um, but when they did come through, what I am trading for is time, meaning books I believe, this is just my opinion, books are condensed time, meaning it took Alex, say 20, 30 years to learn what he learned in that book, and what he's carrying over to me, what he's giving over to me in that book form. And so I can probably read through that book, or I read through that book in like a week. And so I've traded a week for 50 years. You get what I'm trying to say? Like within my week, I've lived I now have the knowledge, and I now have the knowledge gained from experience that is 50 years, that is at the value of say 20 years, you know. And then obviously there's the second as well, and that's why I went up to 50, because these are two very important different skills. Like however long it took him, it took me a lot less to learn those same skills and to get those same tools. And these for me, this is the trade-off that we ought to be making all the time. For me, the holding on to money is misunderstanding the value. You misunderstand how valuable your time is compared to whatever rand, dollar, euro, whatever currency amount that you're spending. You're misunderstanding what you're worth. You're misunderstanding what your time is worth. Perhaps not now, but what happens when you lock in? What happens when you are consistent? What happens when you stack that compounding is you become eternally more valuable the more you do it, right? Because you're making the sacrifices that other people are not willing to make. And in this instance, it is to trade off really petty cash, small amounts of cash, just to travel more conveniently and in a more timely fashion, where you can boom boom, and then everything carries on as if nothing happened, versus you would rather wait at this point for a couple of hours and then commute to whatever point. And so during the week, normal time, that's how I travel. That's how I travel. I use public transportation. Absolutely no problem with it. And I take it in stride. I take it as just lessons, experiences that I will carry like throughout my life, just knowing and understanding that I can drive. I just don't have a car, and so I have to take public transportation regardless. It's an interesting thing to think of. It's an interesting dynamic, but it's understanding that we go through that, and we trade that time because it makes sense to do so during the week because of what we have going on at that time. And it is worth, like, that time spent is worth it to go to that place, acquire that knowledge, acquire those skills, acquire that certification, so that, again, it's all about creating such that people don't have to validate you every single time you open your mouth. They don't have to, like I think people undervalue the sureness, like how certain I can be that what you're saying is credible. Meaning, if I tell you I have this prior education or this prior understanding, it is not the education itself that necessarily makes me qualified to speak in the way that I do, but me having whatever experience, like me letting you know that, hey, listen, I've run to the ground, into the ground, multiple. I've run multiple companies. Like at this stage of the game, I'm only 20 years old, turning 21 this year, but I've really tried these things. I've been on the cusp of chasing that professional rugby dream. I've been on the cusp of being like, or having a personal training agency, doing this, doing that. I've literally been there on those things, and I turned at their doorsteps, realizing that they're not what was for me, and that I had so much more to give in different industries. And so, because I've been through those things, there are certain things that I can speak on with authority. And that understanding of that authority is more times what makes your message receivable or applicable. Well, what makes people able to use what you say is the fact that the marketplace needs to validate you without saying a word. It needs to be able to validate you without you saying a word. And so if I tell you I have a PBA, I have an MBA, I have a PhD. If I just tell you these things, it's not necessarily that having those things is what makes me successful, but what it allows you to do is it allows you to receive the information that I give. Like me telling you that I've read over 20 books, but for those of you who know that, will kind of receive whatever information I say from the lens of, oh, he's not just speaking from his own experience. It allows you to actually conversate with me, understanding that I have, say, hundreds or thousands of years of lived experience, or through, like, in my brain. Even though I haven't lived it myself, I have thousands of years of lived experience in my mind, and I have all that information to sieve through and to pull from as my points of reference. And I don't just read random stuff. I read biographies, I read books from people who are already ultra successful, this, that, because that's what my interest is. Like, we talk about business, we talk about self-improvement on this channel, right? And so main thing of today is, in order to be that person who is credible, who is accredited, who is this and that, we need to be able to make those trade-offs. You need to be able to see, think of, and understand a couple thousand rand as petty cash. Not because it is petty cash to you today. It may be a lot for you today. However, it won't be a lot one day. And so if it won't be a lot one day, you may as well pull that perspective that you will have in future to today, so that you can start acting and behaving immediately in a way that leads you to that one day. If that makes any sense at all. I say the same thing when it comes to calmness, uh, believing in your preparation. Is, if at some point you are going to be comfortable with what you're doing, never let your ability to conjure up courage be the limiting factor. Meaning, if you're going to be brave when you're in it, I was talking to this guy. I'm at the traffic department. We're about to go take the driver's test, and we were just talking. We're going back and forth, and I say, "You're nervous now?" And he says, "Yes." And I say, "For me, a tool that I use, hopefully can help you too, is I noticed that I'm always nervous before, never during. Meaning, I can do the thing while I'm doing the thing, while I'm performing the skill, no nerves. But before, I get in my own head. And so I told him, if you, when you're actually doing the thing, are going to be comfortable, it is irrational and unreasonable to be nervous before. And also, if you're going to be comfortable while you're doing it, you may as well pull that comfort forward into the present and start getting comfortable now, understanding that you're going, just, if not for any other reason, just by understanding that, you know what, I'm not going to be, I told this to a friend of mine as well, who's going to be going on a date with this girl for Valentine's. And I tell him, yes, you're nervous leading up to it, but do you think you're going to be nervous and shitting yourself the entire time that you know this person? Probably not. Do you think it's only going to be for the first couple of minutes? You guys are going to get to talking, and then you're going to be more comfortable? Yes. Then okay. If you're going to be comfortable at some point, you may as well be comfortable now. Then what you're doing now is literally a waste of everyone's time. It's a waste of your own energy to not live in that state, if that's the state you're going to be in eventually. And so I now am applying that same concept approach to finances, is thinking in terms of, okay, is this that I'm using now? Is this a unit? You can think of money as time, as contained time, as a representation of, like, someone did something of value, and because they did that thing of value, they can now trade in the holder of value for someone else's time and value. Meaning, if I worked Sage Consultation, I did the marketing and sales for somebody. We consulted on how to make the business better, how to get the sales up. I consulted their salespeople. Boom, boom, boom. That is a thing of value. Why? I spent time learning how to do that, learning what works in terms of marketing, learning what works in terms of sales. I spent time learning how to do that. Okay. And the person that I'm working with, instead of spending the time learning the thing, they're just going to apply, because I'm going to tell them what to do. They apply it. And so they give me money. From that money is a representation of the time that I spent learning, and that I've given it to someone else. I've paid it forward, and they've paid me for it. They've paid their units of time spent in order to earn the money to begin with, for my units spent to learn the skill. And so they give that to me. And so my skill has now been traded for a value in currency. And that value in currency is what I in turn trade for someone else's time. Someone spent time making this shirt. Someone spent time making this chain. Someone spent time on this phone. And so the more time, the more complexity that it took to make something, the higher the quality of the shirt, the more genuine the metal, the more it's a representation of the difficulty of acquiring it. And therefore is going to cost more money because it costs more time, it costs more skill, it costs more, you know. So we are just trading time back and forth, in a sense. And so you need to always be conscious and cognizant of how much time you're actually spending. Meaning, is it less time to trade, say, $200 to get there and another $200 to get back after I get and pay for the things that I'm going there for? Is that less time than it would be to be waiting at some, but to be not doing the things that I'm supposed to do to actually gain the skill to make me more money later? But I'm talking about the money that's there now. With the money that's there now, am I, or, and we can talk about it in terms of time. With the time that is contained in my pocket and the time that I have in the present, am I going to be spending more time by giving this value, or am I going to be spending more time by waiting? And for me, the answer is I'm going to be spending more time by waiting. I'm going to be wasting more time, meaning this is a couple hundred. Today I can make that by acquiring a client, boom. Like that's it, you know? And so that can be easily replaced. This time right here, I literally only physically have the time slot that is in the present. And then from there, other things are going to come into play, are going to be in the way, are not going to allow me to express myself in the way that I'm expressing myself now, or to do what I need to do to get where I need to go. And so, in a real way, it would cost me more time to not spend the money. It would cost me more time to not spend this time. I hope I'm making a little bit of sense. I really, really do, because an interesting concept. It's an interesting concept that I'm going through now, and it can be quite complex, but it actually isn't if you really give yourself the time to digest and understand what it is that I'm saying. So at this moment in time, my physical being present here now, time is more valuable to me than any amount of money that I have on my person, or that I could have, or that I could make within the next. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And that's why even right now the company is kind of on a slowdown, on a pause. I'm just delivering to the current customers. I have no interest in growing, acquiring new customers. I'm not really making that push right now because, again, we're trading the time that we have for more skills. Meaning, I could say, nah, forget this. I'm gonna go ahead and continue working. But then the thing becomes, to what end? Like I'm going to do this. Say I can 10x it, but like I said, I said in a previous video, I don't understand how to 100x it. Like I don't understand what the things that need to be in place are in order to increase that level of value. And so I believe it is a better use of my time to learn more, to be in a phase of learning, and so that I can be more skilled, have more leverage, in order to have to do less to get a lot more for my time. Hopefully that concept makes sense. If it does, please let me know in the comment section down below if there's a part that you'd like me to break down a bit further for you. um, then please feel free. If there's a part you want me to double tap in and create a whole video just based on that concept, would 100,000% be willing to do that for you. I live to serve. Okay? For me, a hero, a king, a sovereign, is a servant to his people. And so my duty, my purpose on this earth is to serve. I live to serve. I live to learn. And okay, I think the meaning of life is to learn. And I think to live a fulfilled life, you ought to be learning the thing that you want to learn. And for me, I want to learn how to be king. I want to learn how to be a hero. I want to learn how to be all these things that I admire in other people. And so for myself, that is that is the lived experience that I would like to live. And that is the purpose, you know, that is the meaning. That is the learning that I'm interested in doing. And so if ever there's anything I can do for you, would love to do it. But for now, this is what I've done. Convey this information. If you did in fact enjoy it, then please do hit that subscribe button. But until next time, I have been Sage, signing out.